Hello, my friends. My name is Bubzia, and today I want to show you a blindfolded speedrun of Breath of the Wild, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And this is my newest personal best in a blindfolded any percent category that we call naked route and or armorless route. This route is quite different from what you might be used to see in terms of blindfolded Breath of the Wild speedrunning, at least from my channel, because what I used to do so far on marathons and also like in PB attempts was a route called Hyrule Field, where we basically, after the Great Plateau, go across the Hyrule Field and collect some armor to protect ourselves against the end fight, which is Ganon. But in this route here, as the name says, we are naked and or armorless. So it's actually like, well, basically there is a big time save in the run that you can potentially do if you just don't collect the armor and then go to Ganon but don't get hit. Like, it's literally a one-time thing, kind of. You just need to play perfectly at the end fight, not get hit, defeat Ganon as well as you can. And yeah, this is finally something I managed to do, and this is the newest PB of mine. So we're gonna talk a bit about the run, about the new strats, about the changes in the route. There are some really cool fan favorite glitches coming back in this route, mostly the blss, the blindfolded blss, and that was unfortunately cut out of the Hyrule Field route because it was not needed anymore. But yeah, the route is a tiny bit different and it has some little different nuances. So I want to kind of, in this video, explain what is going on in this speedrun. Also for new people who have maybe never seen a blindfolded Breath of the Wild speedrun, I want to explain the general techniques one more time. This is probably going to be one of my very last PBs in this game. I kind of want to move on from now on, so this is kind of a huge moment for me as well. So I want to just wrap everything up nicely, you know, like make the saga a good end, and leave this video here for future blindfolded speedrunners potentially to have some context of what's going on. Anyways, as you can see right here in the beginning, there are lots of cutscenes going on. That's unfortunately the kind of theme of Breath of the Wild. The beginning is very slow paced. That's why I also have lots of time to talk about various stuff now and explain some general things. So every single run in Breath of the Wild, every single category starts with the Great Plateau, first of all. That includes Link waking up from his deep slumber, then meeting the old man and finally collecting all 4 shrines in the Great Plateau, which teach him the basic mechanics of the game, basically kind of like a tutorial. And maybe it's time to add finally obtain the glider. Obtaining the glider is the biggest goal of the Great Plateau, I guess. And after that, after you obtain the glider, the game opens in its open world state, because right now we are restricted to this little plateau here. But after the game opens up, then the real run starts, I would say. Giga VIP. So first of all, let's talk a bit about movement options. So you might ask yourself, if you are new to this, how can you traverse this ginormous world while blindfolded? And that's a very good question, because we actually, as you can see right now, it looks like we are just running around super normally. But even in this little run, there are already several techniques in the work in the background. Very important though, in the beginning, we pick up this axe. This axe is the first item that we get, and one of the few items that we get in the entire run, actually. And this axe will be very important later on. So, how am I able to move here so precisely? We, first of all, we distinguish between 2 main movement options, which is right now what you can see, running around, and bunny hops. Bunny hops is when you hold the target button and then, for example, backflip, side hop, forward hop, etc. You can count those very easily. They are consistent in terms of distance. So you can count like, okay, I do 5 backflips, 5 side hops, very similar to Ocarina of Time. Now, how it works, what I do right now, is counting the footsteps. So, of course, these hops are consistent, but they are pretty slow. So what I do here is just run around counting the footsteps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And little side note here, on the way to the tower, which is the goal right now, I also collect arrows, and I can confirm my position, if my position is correct, by the amount of arrows I pick up here. I can either get 6, 4, or less. And if I get 6, I'm a bit too high. If I get 4, it's perfect. Then I know I'm on the right way towards this pedestal here. And if I get less, then I need to adjust a bit more upwards.
This is like the first time in my life, I think, that I
but yeah,
did 2 Breath of the Wild.
This whole running around, I used to do it via pseudo beat counting. It's a technique where I count a song in my head and then beat count the rhythm of that song, because Breath of the Wild does not have really background music. It has just like ambient sounds, which is not very good for counting. So what I did is I counted like a Super Mario 64 song in my head and then counted from there, like the slider. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and stuff. And then based on that, I performed inputs. But nowadays we changed it to footsteps. It's much more consistent because Link actually has pretty good audio design on his feet. Strange as that might sound. So you can kind of count when you are running like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And based off of that, turn directions, etc. There is one more thing that needs to be considered while running around, which is the camera. So Breath of the Wild usually has a dynamic camera, but I quickly want to make another break because there's a glitch incoming right now, which is a fall damage cancel. You will see that right now. We are on top of the tower, jump down, throw a weapon, and somehow weapon swap, and we land on the bottom without taking damage. That is a fall damage cancel. That will come up later. One more time, I will explain it in detail a bit later, before the Magnesis Shrine. But yeah, the old man, we meet the old man and he's talking a lot, so I can explain more about the running and the camera. So as I said, Breath of the Wild has a dynamic camera usually, which means that if you walk to the left, for example, the camera will follow you to the left and like turn based on your movements. If you paid attention earlier when I was running, you could see that the camera did not turn though. That is because in Breath of the Wild, thankfully, you can change this dynamic camera to a fixed camera by tapping any direction on the camera buttons. And for that we used either the up or down button a tiny bit. We just tap that, and then we are able to lock the camera in place until we either target or grab some wall, for example. Then it gets released again. So you need to kind of be cautious about the movement you do. But yeah, now comes the axe into play. You could see right here what I did. I kind of turned my angle, and that's another technique that we call swing buffering. And swing buffering is very useful, and that if you have a two-handed weapon, which this axe is, the two-handed weapon you can swing, and during the swing, press into a certain direction on the analog stick, and Link will turn perfectly towards that angle. It's similar, for example, if you are familiar with Ocarina of Time, with like shield turning, for example. So you can basically buffer a direction on the stick and then perform a very good angle change based off of that. You will see that right now here with a bit of a different thing. Here I did the same thing, but not with the X swing, but with the jump. You can also buffer a direction with a jump, but that is, I think, only a 2-frame window. So it's very precise, actually. Not very precise, like it's you just do it by feel, but the swing buffer is definitely more precise, but also slower. So these days in runs I tend to do more of the jump buffers. But yeah, swing buffering is definitely used throughout all of the run. Now, we enter the first shrine, which is the Bomb Shrine. The Bomb Shrine is pretty tricky. It has a tight cycle that we need to catch, especially if we want to go fast. Because in the second room here is a kind of moving platform that we need to keep track of, and we need to catch an early cycle to get on. And for that we need to perform, like the cycles in Breath of the Wild always start globally as soon as you enter a shrine. So as long as you always perform the same inputs in the same speed consistently, you will get the same cycles. So you can practice them, which is very nice. They are not random. And yeah, in the Bomb Shrine, for those who are unfamiliar with the game at all, you gain the ability to create bombs out of nowhere and kind of explode them at will again. And you have two different types of bombs, the round ones and square ones. So you can effectively use two bombs, and they have like a cooldown each. So now we'll come up to the cycle to catch. You'll see me here setting up, and the elevator's already there. I just barely catch the cycle, turned around here, and threw a bomb while the elevator was moving still. That's the new fast cycle that we grab. And then we continue basically right away. My oldest strat for this was a bit slower. It catched one cycle later because we did not jump instantly onto the elevator, but we waited for the cycle basically we waited first for the bomb to explode, and then we jumped on the elevator.
Dude.
Now here you can see me, I have some troubles finding the ladder here. It's always a bit tricky, but
how does this happen every run?
Yeah, it worked out pretty fine. This puzzle here, it requires you to destroy these blocks with bombs. There are multiple possible outcomes that can happen after the first bomb throw, or how the layout looks of the stones. So I have actually multiple strats there. This was the fastest one, so pretty lucky that this worked out well.
Too much now.
But it can happen that, for example, the second row is not yet exploded because you exploded the first bomb too early, and then you need to jump down one more time in order to not get hit by the second explosion and stuff. It's a very technical shrine, but it's pretty fun to do. If I can advise anyone to try anything blindfolded, if you are interested, like just for a little small challenge, go to your favorite shrine in Breath of the Wild and try to route it and do it blindfolded. It's very fun. Shrines are very compact. They are small portions of the game. They are usually surrounded by walls also, so you have like not much space to get lost. I think it's like the perfect starting point for getting into blindfolded Breath of the Wild. I can highly recommend it. But yeah, we are out of bombs. The old man is here once again. The old man is always really talking lots.
Yeah, for those who have not heard
and
news while he talks,
what is going to happen now is we go towards Stasis, the second shrine.
Together with Fuzziness and Chrism.
Fun enough, also a shrine containing a cycle that we need to catch. But I can talk a bit more about a other technique that already was used in the run that you might have seen and maybe noticed, maybe not. And that is whistle sprinting.
And then I submitted to
when you see me run, like when Link's run animation happens, you can see very often that I can basically sprint infinitely, or like for infinite amounts of time, which is not intended because we have this stamina wheel, right, in Breath of the Wild. But look at me right now, I'm sprinting, stamina is low, and I'm still sprinting, but the stamina is recovering. And this is called whistle sprinting, and this is a very useful technique. Also extremely easy to perform, so I can highly recommend that for casual playthroughs of the game. If you have not played Breath of the Wild, for example, if you're excited for Tears of the Kingdom now, but first want to play Breath of the Wild, 100% learn how to whistle sprint. It will make the game so much better. So what you do is literally just hold the whistle button that you use for Epona. I think it's D-pad down. And then tap the sprint button. Like, you literally like tap. And that lets you run at like 80% speed while regenerating stamina, which is very good. I also recommend you to change the controller calibrations. The controller mappings, sorry. Because it's a bit of an awkward hold on the controllers if you want to whistle sprint casually, but you can, you can remap the controller in the switch menu and then make it much more accessible. So now we are in this hut, and inside the hut we are picking up ingredients for some food, mostly a spicy pepper and a stamella mushroom. These we will instantly use to cook here, because that gives us cold resistant food for 2.5 minutes, as you can see, as well as a mushroom skewer that restores some stamina, which will speed up a climbing process later on in the game a bit better. Then we pick up this pot lid. This pot lid is the weakest shield in the entire game. I believe it has only 1 power. It's made from wood. And funnily enough, it's a necessary item for the end fight against Ganon. Like, we would not be able to defeat Ganon without this pot blitz, so this guy carries us all the way throughout the game. But first, we're doing a tree of, like, the tree of doom here. I messed up here a bit. I forgot to I forgot my setup a bit because I need to do 3 shield punches at a specific position to gain a tiny bit more distance. So this was a tiny bit of a mistake from my side. But you will see, actually this is a good point to talk about the saving features of the game, because what I did right now, I just reloaded an automatic save. I did not save manually, right? Sorry. So the game every now and then saves automatically. And now I got back to the position, did the shield punches, and now repeat the setup, and you can see the tree falls down and I can proceed my way. Now, these automatic saves can be very tricky. They can overwrite your manual save, like in terms of positioning. Very unlucky here, I got stuck at the tree I see now. Hopefully I get down there, yeah, perfect. So you kind of need to know when automatic saves can happen and where you last time saved manually. It's very like advised if you do manual saves to equip, like, for example, a rune that you never use, and then switch back after saving, just in order to identify your manual saves from automatic saves while you are blindfolded. But yeah, automatic saves usually happen at like certain points, like always before this tree, for example, there's an automatic save, always when you open a chest, when you collect some weapons, I believe also. But yeah, we are now right on track for Stasis Shrine. We just need to climb this wall here. This whole section, by the way, with the tree and everything, was considered extremely difficult and one of the hardest parts of the Great Plateau. But in recent times, we found this new strat, with the tree that I messed up, but it was just because I forgot to do the setup correctly. But it's very consistent now to cross that gap at least. And now we are up here. You can see the next shrine, and that is Stasis. There's quite a bit of talking to do about Stasis actually. So in Stasis Shrine, it's very important that we go to the pedestal as fast as possible. For that I hold like a very weird direction on the controller too. You can see I'm just sprinting towards the pedestal and mashing A to activate it the fastest possible time. That is because you can see in the background here, there's this cogwheel, and this cogwheel is turning, and yeah, as I said earlier, we have to catch a cycle here. So we learn the ability to stop objects in time, and this cogwheel creates kind of a bridge. So we need to stop the bridge exactly when it's horizontally aligned with the platforms. Now, in order to time that properly, I use some jumps here. Like after the cutscene, I'm instantly jumping. Count like how many jumps I do. I count the swing buffer, another jump, and then stasis. And you can see it's like a perfectly horizontally aligned bridge. Very clean. This is all just timed based off of the cycle. Now there's a second strategy that we use here, or a new technique, which is called scope cancelling. Watch very closely right now what I do with this boulder. I take the scope out, and suddenly I am able to stasis the rock which is like above me. So what this scope cancel technique does is it allows you to, in a consistent way, move the camera vertically up, so upwards basically. And that is very, very useful, especially later on. It's a crucial technique that you need to beat the game later on. But yeah, every technique that allows you to move the camera consistently is a good technique in Blindfolded. So very, very good that this exists. In this particular case, we just do like 2 scope cancels that aligns the camera perfectly with the rock that spawns, and then we can stasis it. So this was the second shrine. Fun fact here, we don't skip the cutscene at the end of the shrines instantly, but rather a bit late. This is because the loading time after the cutscene is much shorter if you wait a tiny bit for some reason. That's just how the game works for, yeah, I don't know why. But yeah, we are on to the third shrine, which is Cryonis, and this is the worst part of the entire game, probably, in many blindfolded speedrunners' opinions. First of all, we pick up another hammer weapon. The hammer weapon is also pretty useful later on. It will actually be needed to complete the game again. Not for Ganon this time, but in order to defeat some other enemy, but that comes later. But as you can see, here's this big mountain range which is covered in snow and it's cold. There is cold weather here. You can see me starting losing health. So what we do is we set up a particular position here and then eat the cold food that we cooked earlier. Because that gives us exactly 2 minutes of cold resistancy, which is perfectly enough to get to the next shrine if everything goes according to plan. So you can see me here just running around. I set up my position in a very certain way that I just have to hold up, basically run up. And here I listen for the footsteps. So as soon as I hear these footsteps here, they are a bit different because there's snowy footsteps, then there are like rocky footsteps, etc. As I said, the footstep sound design is pretty good. So from this rocky footstep, the next snowy footsteps that I hear, I start to count. And this is in order to, right here you can see, I'm like moving up right, then up, and now I will turn up left again. So we use like a very specific count here of Link's footsteps to align ourselves with this wall that you can see in the distance. Because on that wall there are 5 bomb arrows, there's a chest, and we need to get there somehow and normalize our position again. So what we do is a shield surf. It's a very recent technique that is very fast but very risky. So we shield surf here and it kind of perfectly aligns you with the wall, not always 100%. So what I do here is still do a safety save. And then on the floor you can see there's this tiny patch of non-snowy terrain. So I search that, use that in order to normalize, and then I know, okay, boom, here's the wall. And this chest, as I said, contains 5 bomb arrows, which will be important later on at the fight against Ganon. And this is a DLC chest. So in order to get this, you need to actually buy the DLC. And in the other route, you also obtain the armor, which is also DLC, so it's kind of pay to win. But you could theoretically beat this route that I do right now without the DLC as well, just it's a bit more difficult. It's actually not even more difficult, it loses like 10 seconds or so. So this is actually the only route so far in the game that does not require the DLC, which is pretty cool. You'll still need amiibos though, but more to that later on. Sorry if my throat is a bit coarse, I don't know what's happening, it's a bit of a dry weather here. I hope you don't mind that I drink some tea sometimes here in the breaks. Actually, very good point. Everyone stretch out a bit. Very important to keep yourself healthy as well. I always tell my Twitch chat and my live streams that they should sit up straight in their chairs, stretch a bit in the downtimes with me. You can see me here in the camera. I also always, when I have some time, do some little movement. Especially since we gamers sit so much and stuff, it's very important to keep track of that sometimes. But yeah, Cryonis. Cryonis is the ability to create ice cubes. Like these, you will see these ice pillars from water surfaces. And you can use that to solve like puzzles, you can push up doors like this. And we will only use Cryonis like once more in the entire run after this, so it's kind of a useless thing. But you can see there's this Guardian, and this Guardian is horrible. It's one of the most RNG dependent or like random parts of the run. So we need to set up here, hope that he doesn't hit us during a jump, and then create a Cryonis block. Also, he is not allowed to get too close. You can see here, he hit me exactly when I was jumping, and that messes up my position. So I actually turned around here. Also, I have not seen this run before. This is the first time I'm watching this run. And then wow, this still worked. That is crazy. So he turned me around with this laser, but it still worked out because I held the target button correctly. That is insane. This is literally crazy. But yeah, also, maybe you've seen that right now, when you hold the target button and have a shield out, you actually cannot walk off certain ledges in the game, which right now also happened, which is very convenient for blindfolded, because you can basically stop at any ledge that would be lethal to you. There are very many exceptions to that, because it's a very buggy feature of the game. Like, you can very easily slide off certain ledges if you are not careful enough. But yeah, this shrine worked out perfectly well. Very nice. So now what we're gonna do is use the fast travel feature to go back to the tower. Also pretty interesting that you can like easily navigate the map blindfolded by zooming out all the way. So all the icons are very close together, and then just like tapping the buttons to the right, for example, and then counting the icons. It's a pretty cool technique, I like it. And now we are on the way to the last shrine of the Great Plateau, then we are done. And the last shrine is Magnesis, but here was the fall damage cancel again that I talked earlier about already. So how does a fall damage cancel work? Basically, if you are on a high spot like the tower, you can jump down, throw your weapon, or like hold the throw weapon button, and then while you release the button, there is a window of like 7 frames, which is a lot. It might sound scary, but the game runs in 30 FPS, or like 30 frames per second, and you have 7, so it's like 1/3 of a second leeway, which is for a speedrunner a lot. It's a very big window. So you throw your weapon, and within this 1/3 of a second, you switch the weapon that you're using. So you basically cancel the throw, and for some reason, this weapon cancel, the throw cancel, resets Link's height counter, so the game thinks, oh, he didn't fall actually that high. That means if you still activate this glitch too high, he will still take damage, but it's definitely going to be less damage than if he jumps from all the way up there. But yeah, here on the way to Magnesis, there was not much going on. We just spawned like a Cryonis block to cross this river lake. There are some little nuances you need to know, like how many swims you can do until your stamina runs out. But it's rather easy. I think it's one of the easiest movements in the Great Plateau, so not much to talk about there. Let's rather talk about Magnesis. Oh, I just missed the pedestal here, very unfortunate. But I found it with a little backup run. So Magnesis is an interesting shrine. I really like it because it's, first of all, very easy. It looks really cool. I really recommend this shrine for beginners if you want to impress your friends at a party and be the really cool guy or girl or whatever. But yeah. Basically, what we're gonna do is never use Magnesis. We use Magnesis once here in the beginning in order to move this platform here away. This is the only use of Magnesis, I think, in the entire run, actually. It is. It's the only use of Magnesis in the entire run at this point. That's crazy. So yeah, we move this thing away, then just move down here with some camera locks and some movements. And here are more Magnesis puzzles, but we're gonna use the stasis function and just punch this block to create movement and then release. And this block, you can see a health bar in the background. This block kills the guardian that stands there from the force. Like you basically just punch the block into the guardian. And what I'm trying to do here is climb up this block, but it kind of failed, unfortunately. That is, yeah, as I said, there is some randomness here too. The second block that falls down can be in a position that you can instantly cross it, like jump over it. But as you can see here right now, it can also be in a position where you have to stasis again and also shoot the second block away. Then here is another metal door, which we never use Magnesis for, because using Magnesis, or like the reason why Magnesis is so bad, is that it changes your camera angle. And that's nothing that you want to see in a blindfolded speedrun. So rather than opening the door with Magnesis, you stasis the door, punch it a few times, backflip into a consistent position, and then open the door, you know? Because if you use Magnesis, the camera will wiggle around, you don't know where you are, where you're facing, it's kind of random.
It will still be a good time.
You can make it consistent with Magnesis as well, but it's much slower. So that's the reason why we use stasis nearly everywhere. And yeah, that was the last shrine. We are now officially done with the plateau. Not officially, because we still need to pick up the glider. As you can see here, the old man will come one final time. Thank God.
Because honestly,
this guy talks so much. It might sound bad, but as a speedrunner, the Great Plateau is a very frustrating part, I would say, because it's very slow paced. There is quite a bit of precise action going on, but if you run any percent blindfolded, the most interesting or like the most challenging part is the later half against Ganon and Ganon's castle. So the Great Plateau is kind of just this first half hour that you need to somehow get through, and there is no way around it, and there is so much downtime. Like, it wouldn't be as bad. Like, I really like the plateau, but there is so much cutscenes and talking, and you play this game every day of the week for 3 or 4 times, and you have to listen to this old guy. It's sorry for the rant. I'm good. So we fast travel back to the bomb shrine in order to go to the church now to get the glider, because as you can see, these walls here perfectly align with the church in the background, and yeah, it's much faster to just warp here and then use this alignment, because here we can just align on this wall and then 100% all the way until the church, hold up and sprint, focus on sprinting. Which is very good. Like that's also a common theme that you will see in Blindfolded Breath of the Wild speedruns. Like step 1, set up the angle, like either with like swing buffers, for example, or walls that you climb. And then after you have the angle, just like hold up until you reach another point of reference, for example, a wall or something. So here you can see this angle perfectly aligns us with the ladder, which we need to climb. So we just instantly go up here. We can instantly go to the rooftop. And for that we do some bunny hops. Oh yeah, I never showed you how bunny hops look like. These are bunny hops here. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So bunny hops are very easy to count, but yeah, they are kind of slow, especially if you want to traverse long distances, like for example this field here towards the church. You would bunny hop like 60 times or something until you reach the ladder, and that is slow. So we reach the old man, and here is officially the end of the plateau. It's a 31-minute plateau, which is very good. I got I improved a lot with the Great Plateau. I used to average like a 35-minute plateau. Nowadays I average a 31 plateau, which is very, very nice. But yeah, we get the glider now, and we're gonna pick up a bow right here next to us, suggest. And here is the interesting part where the route diverges from the old Any percent that I used to upload on my channel also. In the old route, we used to teleport now to Magnesis, and then from Magnesis, run across Hyrule Field, collect the Phantom Armor from the DLC chests, do a wind bomb towards Ganon Castle, and then basically loot Ganon's castle. Now, in this route is different. In this route, we teleport to the tower, and we're gonna perform the fan favorite glitch named BLSS, Bomb Lift Smuggling Slide, I believe it is. So this is a glitch. You can see here, you put down the bomb, or like a square bomb. I also do a safety save here, why not? So you put out the square bomb, then you glitch a bomb with your bow together in your hand. Like you see, I have the bomb in my hand and my bow in my hand, and suddenly, boom, Link is flying. And then what we can do with this is wiggle the analog stick downwards, like you can see what Link is doing here, and this pushes Link faster and faster and faster across the map, because the bomb is pushing Link's model basically. So it's quite difficult to set up the angle towards Ganon's castle, but I've gotten also really consistent with it these days. And it's also very interesting because I do use 2 different controllers for the run, which is, I haven't talked about that yet, but I do use an 8-bit though controller and a, how are they called? Nintendo Switch Pro controller with custom notches. And for this particular trick, you cannot use the 8-bit though, because it has not an analog stick, but a D-pad. So why it does not work is you are never allowed to go neutral on the stick during this trick. You always have to hold a direction. So this wiggling is also actually pretty scary. This is also a very, very slow BLSS. Like I'm not flying fast at all, but it just is the nature of this trick, because like you need to wiggle the stick, as I said, from left to right without going into the neutral position, like left, right, and stuff. And your fingers can get really slippery. And if you release by accident, the stick obviously goes to neutral, and then it's over as well. So here, behind this pillar should already start the loading zone for Ganon's castle. You can see that on the bottom right that the map will change. There is the map change, and the music also changes, and then because we were pretty slow, the map instantly loaded. You can go so fast that it takes like around 15 seconds for the map to appear.
I guess.
But yeah, pretty slow BLSS, but it worked, so that's all that matters in this route. And now we are switching back the controller. So yeah, the 8-bit though, a very, very powerful controller. It is basically, the biggest advantage is that it has not an analog stick, but a D-pad. So basically 100% consistent up, down, left, right movements. You can achieve the same thing with notches, but it's just much more precise if you have actually a D-pad there. That's why we also split the categories into any percent notched versus non-notched, because it just gives such a big advantage to normal controllers like the Joy-Con, for example. So, Ganon's castle, very interesting part coming up. One more big door that we have to not open by magnesis but stasis. And then comes the fan favorite, a big fan favorite moment. We'll see that. So here I'm doing 4 punches against this door. This door is quite heavy, so it needs some force. You need to build some force first. And then we set up something, and here we do another technique you can see right now, which is a stasis jump. You can basically turn your angle by around 33 degrees if you use stasis and then cancel it out with a side bunny hop. It's also only a few frames that you have, similar to the jump buffer, but yeah, it works. And it gives you very, very good setups for angles, like angles for setups. And here we now walk up to this guardian, go into a certain position, and then, can he do it? Ooh, he did it. First try, guardian parry. So we need to parry this guardian. He's in our way for both now and later on. So maybe you could skip him in one way, but since we need to pass this guy twice in the route, it's much faster to kill him. And that was the first try. That's very good. The guardian parry is pretty precise. It is, like, even visually, some people struggle with it. How we do it in blindfolded is we count the beeping of his attack. So he does this attack, and we count those. As soon as he shoots, we count from this very, like, it also depends on the distance you have, so it doesn't really matter if I tell you how much I count, because every single distance is different. So you need to adjust also a bit on the fly if you are far away or close enough. But yeah, what I want to say is you can count it. Now this was the last use of Cryonis here. There's a door behind us again with the water on the bottom. And now I'm setting up some items for the Lizard Foss kill. Now the Lizard Foss kill in this route is much more difficult because, as you can see, we don't have armor at all. And in the other route, at this point, we had armor with attack buffs. And we need to kill this Lizard Foss here in the corner to get his weapon and his shield. But we don't have this attack buff from the armor. So how do we kill this guy? Because we certainly lack the attack power to do it, like, consistently. We use the same kind of trick setup with the bomb, so that the Lizard Foss comes here We whistle, he targets the bomb, critical sneak strike from behind, jump over him, critical sneak strike again, jump over him, critical sneak strike again, and then he's dead. And then pick up all his weapons and stuff. So it's kind of a Metal Gear Solid moment here where the guards are really stupid and don't see you. But it's a very, very clever setup that is really precise. So big shoutouts to Saver for finding that with the non-armor buff. This is a really incredible setup. And then we can basically proceed into the castle further in. We use this wall here to normalize and this pillar, and then go to pick up this chest right here, which contains 3 ancient arrows. Now, the ancient arrows are also extremely, extremely important for the end fight. We'll come to that later. You will definitely see why they are crucial. But yeah, these are the strongest arrows in the game. They do tons of damage, especially to Ganon and the blights, because they are like anti-evil or something, I don't know. And what we still have left to do here in this armory, I think it is grab some weapons. Most notably the Royal Claymore and the... I honestly don't know how it's called. The Black Claymore, I always call it. Like the weapon that this enemy there is holding. So for that, we first run up here, take the Royal Claymore, or the White Claymore, in more simple language. And then we save. Now this is a really cool strat. So by setting up the angle, like all the way in the back with the wall, we have a perfect angle to save here after collecting the sword. And after reloading, we should be in a perfect position to, again, sneak strike this guy. And with the Royal Claymore that we just picked up and a sneak strike, we have just enough attack power to one-hit him and then collect his Claymore, which is one of the strongest weapons in the game. It's not very durable, so it only has a few attacks until it breaks, but it is very crucial in order to defeat the blights later on. And now comes the last big route change between the old Any % route, which is the big amiibo farm. First of all, we collect this one mushroom, which is a razor shroom, because you know what the problem is? We don't have the armor, and mostly the armor did not only defend us from Ganon's attacks in the other route, but it also provided us with an attack up buff. And the attack up buff is needed. If you don't have this buff, you lack weapon power to defeat Ganon, and you will run out of weapons because they will all break by the time of like the first phase probably. So what we do here is spawn lots of amiibos, the Mifa amiibo more specifically because it drops fish. And what we want is attack up buff fishes. So this is a bit complicated what's going on now, because how do you tell blindfolded what fish you collect? And there's actually no way of telling. But what we can do is, we know that there are 12 different types of fishes in the game. So this amiibo can spawn 12 fishes, right? They have all of different spawn rates, so some are more rare than others, especially the this one here, the Salmon Max, and there's a Base Max also. These are very rare. So I collect amiibos, or like fishes, until I reach around 10 to 12, because if I get 10, it's very likely that I'm only missing the 2 rare ones. And then I can sort my inventory, because the inventory system in Breath of the Wild works in a way that if you sort the inventory, all the items have different IDs, and it sorts them always in the same way. For example, the attack up fish is always 2 positions ahead of the defense up fish, for example. And the defense up fish is always the last fish in the row, for example. So you can kind of make out where your fishes are in the inventory. Just you need to kind of calculate it on the fly based on how many fishes you collect and stuff. So this was a pretty bad RNG. I believe we got 11 fishes, so 1 is missing. We also pick up here Nadja's Fang,
11, huh?
which is an item that elevates the effects of a cooked food that you cook, which is also very important because it makes the attack buff food up that we cook last for like 10 minutes, which is exactly enough for the boss fight. Everything plays really well out in this route. But yeah, also you might wonder, how was I able to scan so many amiibos? And that is actually, the game has a feature where you can only scan an amiibo once per day. But if you have multiple of the same amiibo, you can scan them as often as you want. So Nintendo did not expect people to have multiple of the same amiibo. I mean, it is kind of weird, but it works for speedrunners. So here you can see me sorting the fishes. I know the last fish is always defense, and the second to last fish is always attack. And I need only 2 attack fish plus the mushroom plus Nadia's fang. That is enough to defeat Ganon.
And then we don't know
18 minutes plus 3 attack up buff. And here you can see I'm also cooking the salmon max.
So we might have +4.
So both of the rare fishes always appear in the first slot of the fish family, and they give you yellow hearts. And as I said, because we don't have armor, Ganon will one-hit us. There is basically no one-hit protection, because usually if you have enough armor, any attack that Ganon does, or like any enemy to you does, you will survive with a quarter of a heart. Just like to make it easier for new players, I guess. It's like a system in the game. But since we have no armor, Ganon's attacks are just too strong. They will go through the one-hit protection. Like, if you get hit by a laser, you're dead. If you get hit by his axe, you are dead. And there are 2 ways to combat that. The first one is the obvious one. You just get good and play perfect for like the whole fight and don't get hit a single time, which is what we kind of need to do. And the second way is you get lucky with amiibos and you get lots of these salmon maxes in order to get yellow hearts, because every 4 yellow hearts that you get basically lets you survive 1 hit. So it's kind of a one-time armor that you pick up with these fishes. And I got a 1+4 food, which allows me to survive 1 hit, I believe, in the fight later on. And yeah, we are already on the way to the last fight now. Like, we are 45 minutes into the run, and it's already kind of the end. This route is incredibly fast, because we skipped this whole Hyrule Field section. So it's really, really cool that it's possible, but yeah, the problem is, I've grinded this route for 1 or 2 weeks, I believe, every day, and Ganon killed me so often. It is so incredibly hard to finish a run, because Ganon you are just not allowed to get hit, and Ganon is such an incredibly difficult fight that, yeah, it's just not easy. It's kind of the pro version of the route, I would say. Up here we collect some arrows, a bow. The bow is also very important. It's one of the strongest bows in the game. And another 3-pack of ancient arrows, so we have a total of 6. There's another 5-pack of normal arrows hidden here in the goop. We'll pick it up right here. And with that we have all the items we need for Ganon. Now we just need to get there. And you might ask, Ganon's castle is all the way on top of this mountain, right? How do we get there? Well, I have good news, because it's the fan favorite wind bomb coming into play. We climbed this little wall here in a very particular way, so we align ourselves with this pillar here. This pillar gives us the perfect angle towards, you see right on the horizon there is Ganon's castle, and there's this big cliff. And if we do everything right, a wind bomb will perfectly launch us above that cliff, right in front of the door to the boss fight. So it's a very lucky position here that this exists. I'm turning the camera up here. Many people ask why I do that, and this is lag reduction. Ganon, or like Breath of the Wild, also beautiful wind bomb, dude. Right in front of the door. So Breath of the Wild plays on the Switch, but the Switch is not very powerful console, so the game does lag. And wind bombs are so precise that if you get unlucky and the game lags during the setup, it will just not work. So by turning the camera up to the sky, you reduce all the objects that are loaded on screen, and that reduces the lag, which is very good. Now, here is the boss fight, but we are not going in yet. we are setting up for a blindfolded wind blight skip. It is probably the most precise thing in the entire run. It is a, I believe, pixel perfect, frame perfect move, both of them. So you need to shoot an arrow with the strongest bow and an ancient arrow into a very, very, very specific position and a very, very specific time. So we do like a crazy setup here with like changing the angles and the camera. Then we save and eat the attack up food. And what that does is we shoot the arrow, we buffer the arrow during the pause here, hold up on the stick.
Here we go again.
And that shoots the arrow and activate the cutscene at the same time. So you can see here, the arrow is now in the air while the cutscene activated. And that should leave the arrow stuck mid-air while its hitbox is still activated. And Windblight now spawns into the game exactly with his cutscene of his head inside the hitbox of the arrow. So he takes damage during the cutscene.
I'm a bit optimistic.
And that was beautiful. Both phases of Windblight, just the health bar just got deleted. It's just dead. And with that, we started the final boss, Water Blight phase 1. So first we need to defeat lots of blights. Water Blight phase 1, phase 2,
Very unlucky.
Fire Blight phase 1, phase 2, and then Thunder Blight phase 1, phase 2, until we then can start fighting Ganon phase 1 and phase 2, and then comes still Ganon the Dark Beast. So it's lots of phases, and you are not allowed to die a single time, otherwise you respawn all the way in the beginning. So it's a very punishing part already here. Luckily the blights are pretty scripted. I do very certain attacks and very certain maneuvers to defeat them. Here with Water Blight there's a bit of RNG which attack he does. I got unlucky here. He spawned high, that means he does the freeze attack. It loses like, I will be honest with you, 20 seconds maybe. So it's not a big deal, but it's kind of annoying. Then we always headshot him twice to get him down, and then do 4 punches with the Royal Claymore, and that we do twice. So now he will spawn again high, does the freeze attack, and then when he goes down again, we repeat the headshots and the Claymore attack. How do we do blindfolded headshots, you might ask? It's actually pretty easy. The lock-on system of Breath of the Wild is pretty good, or like very good. It kind of automatically targets the head. So as impressive as that looks, I have to disappoint you. I'm just pressing Z and targeting the guy. It automatically locks on his head. You need to still time the arrow though. Like the timing of the headshot is a bit different because yeah, he moves around. So what I want to say, it's easier than it looks. Then Fire Blight phase 1. We first loop him with a headshot, body shot, and 3 more headshots. Health bar going really down here already. And we used to do the whole phase with arrows, but now we do this Royal Claymore spin attack. Because as you can see, it kills him very, very fast. This is just for speed optimization. It does use up the durability of your Claymore, which is not good for the end fight, but we tested it and it's worth to spin here against Fire Blight. It just makes it so much faster. Same kind of game for Fire Blight phase number 2. Just here he has this armor that you cannot defeat, so he first needs to absorb a bomb and then you need to explode it. I kind of missed him here unfortunately, but again the same game. Hit him once to know his location and then spin to win. And his health bar is already very down. And now we need to shoot a bomb arrow into his face. And this is already very scary because if he's too close, you will bomb arrow yourself. And here I missed two bomb arrows I missed. I know that I cannot, and oh god, this attack was so close, Jesus Christ. For reference, anything that hits me right now, I am dead. Because I don't have armor.
God.
Like the blights, they kill you in this route. So this dodge of this attack was crazy, I have never seen this before. But yeah, Thunder Blight, the most difficult part of the entire blights. We need to Flurry Rush, which is like the perfect parry attack. Flurry Rush Thunder Blight here with his attack, so we need to wait for him, and we are not allowed to move a single centimeter. We need to do the Flurry Rush, but cancel it early in order to break his shield now. Take the Black Claymore, do a spin attack for 3 hits, and then do 2 more normal hits. This allows us to always end the fight in this starting position of the arena. And this is absolutely crucial, because the second phase of Thunder Blight is, I would say, impossible to do without this skip, without armor and stuff. You need to be really lucky, because Thunder Blight spawns these pillars and they have to magnesis them upwards to him, and it's so random. So what we do here is, from this position, set up the boomerang that we picked up, throw it, break his shield, and then throw the Claymore to get him down and get him below a threshold of health that he does the attack. So now we have him down, we basically keep him down all the way, break his shield again, it's a full-on stun lock, all the way until he's down. Boom, that was beautiful. So we basically all these items that we picked up are just to get through Thunder Blight phase 2. And now, here comes the fun part. Ganon without armor. Same as in the other route, we first need to pick up a sword, a shield, bomb arrows, and another claymore. And I got really unlucky here, because Ganon can do multiple opening attacks, and he can choose to follow you, which is the worst possible outcome that he can do. Because in this route, if he follows you, he does an attack that you cannot really dodge. So you can see me here, I'm putting down a bomb, because what you can do is, if you bomb yourself before he attacks you, you will only take damage of the bomb and not of his attack, and that is not lethal. So here I luckily grabbed the Claymore, but he's lasering me, so I'm just exploding myself with the bomb. Unfortunately, that instantly took out the +4 extra health that I used, so I actually have to do the entire fight now without getting hit. But yeah, I kind of survived at least the bad pattern. Then, we picked up the Claymore, we have all the weapons we need, now we just need to fight Ganon. How do we do that? By using Flurry Rushes, parries against lasers, arrows and stuff. He goes to the wall, this is the worst possible thing that you can do. This laser was so close to killing me, Jesus. Like, if anything touches you here, you are dead. You have to repeat the last 10 minutes, the run is literally dead. Laser parry, perfect. If you miss this, you are dead. So, it's a very, very stressful fight. You can see me here, I have, just the beginning of the fight, I have 140 heart rate. This will stay for like this for around 10 minutes. It's a very, very stressful thing. So yeah, Ancient Arrows, as you can see, why we need them is if he goes to the wall, he does every single attack that he does from the wall is absolutely bad for us. So we need to get him down as quickly as possible, and an Ancient Arrow instantly gets him down. That's basically why we need them, on top of making good damage to him. So here I'm switching always back to the Boomerang, because the Boomerang still has around 5 hits of durability, and especially when the Boomerang breaks, it does lots of damage for crits. Here he does a horizontal slash attack that we can dodge very easily. So here again you can see me switch to the Boomerang, do 2 hits, and next hit it should break, which will do some extra damage. So one more Flurry Rush. Yeah, you see, I'm really hitting those Flurry Rushes very well, because he goes to the wall. Like, it's the 3rd time he goes to the wall already, so I had a very unlucky fight. But I still have 2 Ancient Arrows. He does the pillar attack, but he's down. I still have some bomb arrows also that I used to take his health down. Another laser, perfectly parried. Let's go. Parrying lasers is very good because they do lots of damage to Ganon as well. Here I broke my shield, my sword, and also broke my boomerang, so I don't have any more weapons, really. He goes to the wall again, but I don't have a... Oh my god, that was also so close. If this attack hits you, you're also dead. If he falls onto you, basically. No more bomb arrows, we're running really low on resources, so I need to use my claymores now that I really want to save for phase 2. but the perfect Flurry Rush, and we have an attack up claymore, which is random. I just picked this weapon up, and it can have like a, I don't know, 10% chance of being like an attack up, which just does more damage. So phase 1 is survived, heart rate at 165, 166, it's rising, dude. So Flurry Rush again. Here in phase 2 he has armor that we cannot pierce, so we need to wait for him until he does a laser, or keep Flurry Rushing. Here I failed the Flurry Rush, but it was actually pretty lucky that I failed this, because right afterwards he does a laser, and that's what I need. You can stun lock phase number 2 of Ganon with a very precise setup. Here we do 2 hits into his face, and then spin, and what I use is the spear. The spear pierces the ground, it does a little sound with that, it's very, very subtle. But you spin, spear pierces the floor, and then release. And this you can kind of loop. It's pretty precise, but you can learn it. And you can see I'm just looping him and looping him. And I can do that until my weapon breaks. And since I have an attack up claymore, which is very lucky, I might even have enough attack to not switch weapons, or like not kill the stun lock, and he's already getting down really low on health. This is looking very, very good. And my weapon's breaking, and my weapon broke, but he also died at the same time, and that's it. Ganon is dead. Finally, in under 1 hour, I managed to defeat Ganon without getting hit a single time. Pretty cool. 4.5 minute gold, as you can see on the splits, just because I managed. Minus 16 against PB, 16 minutes ahead of PB. And now is only Dark Beast left, and Dark Beast, you can die here. It's okay if you die here. This is basically the safe spot. After Ganon phase 2, the game auto-saves, and you will not spawn again at the beginning of the blights if you die. So now it's basically over. Now it's just like the victory lap home. Dark Beast is really annoying. I hate this so much. You basically need to just bunny hop around this arena, because we cannot use Epona to kill Dark Beast. Blindfolded horse riding is not a good idea. And he spawns these circles here, the circles of light that you have to hit. So what we do is just bunny hop setups and the scope cancels I talked about earlier in stasis. So we just hop around, then like go once up or twice up with the bow to perfectly align with the rings, and then shoot them. Now right here I did something incredibly stupid. I jumped 4 times instead of 3 times. And I don't know why, but I might die here. I have to say this. In my last 4 PBs, like 4 PBs, I messed up Dark Beast. And this is nothing else than an absolute failure, dude. I don't understand why I cannot count properly when I'm here. I'm maybe too nervous when I reach this point, I don't know. But this is, in fact, I think 5th time in a row that I messed up Dark Beast in a PB pace run. Yeah, I just jumped once too much, and because you jumped once too much, Dark Beast turns towards you, and when he turns, the points of attack change the position. So, long story short, you messed up, you have to kill yourself and retry and lose lots of time, dude.
I don't think I hit it.
So I could have been already done with the run at this point. 1 hour, 2 minutes. I could have been done, but
I retry. It's okay. It's okay. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
Life
care.
is not that easy, I guess.
We're just gonna.
So we have to die here
I
and
didn't
repeat
hear if I jumped once.
all
That's
the Dark
problem.
Beast one more time. So,
I did not.
we can talk a
know
bit
if I
more
jumped once
about
or not.
random stuff. You can
It
see, for example, I'm
complicates,
playing the game in French. You might have guessed it, but French is actually the fastest language for Breath of the Wild.
It's okay.
I don't know who timed it and
Ganon is done.
why they timed it in French, but it has been done, and apparently it's the fastest
That's all
thing.
that matters.
I know other categories also play in German, so German is also pretty fast for this game. It's funny because it's always Zelda games that have these weird languages. I think Wind Waker also plays in Italian, right? And no, only Ocarina of Time plays in Japanese. It's very strange. But yeah, it's mostly the text and the cutscenes. Like when they speak, when the old man in the plateau speaks to you, it's somehow faster in French. I also have some new strats here for Dark Beast that I will be performing from now on if I do this, for example, at marathons, which is even more lag reduction, because Dark Beast lags as hell. Dark Beast is a very huge creature, and this game is very poorly coded, so it does lag quite a bit. So what I do these days is whenever I do these side hops here, I just face the ground full on, similar to the wind bomb where we face the sky to not load objects. Here we face the ground to basically not have Ganon on the screen. And it does help, it really does help. I can feel a big difference in terms of movement, because also what very often happens here is you do the bunny hop to the left, but the game for some reason lags and he just does a normal jump, or like in place, you know. And since we are blindfolded, we cannot tell the difference, and suddenly Dark Beast again fails on PB pace and you are really mad. So it's not a fun thing to do. But yeah, we are finally back to where we died after 2.5 minutes of time loss. We are back on track. So here there's one more final ring and then we are done with this. Here you can see the lag reduction that I was talking about. I'm already using it here for this one dodge, because here comes a big laser that we need to dodge with 6 bunny hops. And the game lags incredibly much when he does this laser. So if you don't do this camera positioning here, it's very, very difficult to time the bunny hops. But yeah, he does now one last ring here on his belly. We just wait for Zelda to talk and then shoot 3 arrows. The third one will hit the ring always. Bam, there it is. And here's a new little time save strat that I do. I jump 3 times to the left here, and now I just need to wait for Zelda's dialogue. She says something in French and then like, tu blah 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 voix. And after this voix, I start the beat count. Jump, pull out the glider, and at 4.5 beats, I pull out the bow in slow motion time and shoot the final arrow and kill him. And there it is. Boom, that's time. 1 hour, 5 minutes, 42 seconds. My first completion of the Armorless route. Very, very clean run besides the Dark Beast. And maybe going across the Tree of Doom in the beginning, but this is a very clean run. This would have been like a 102.
Never again, this fucking one-hit route.
I had lots of fun grinding this, but I will probably never do this again in my life. This was absolutely hell to run. This is such a horrible category.
Thanks for the
like, you just play for an hour and then get hit by
man.
Ganon and it's over. You have to reset.
That Ganon
It's just
fight
such a
was
waste of time,
intense.
dude.
The stun lock at the end, dude.
But
I hit him
we
with
did,
the
we
very
did it.
last
It's
hit.
done.
My
It's a
weapon
big
got
PB. It's a
destroyed,
15-minute
critical, and
PB
he got dead,
compared to my other route. And since it's 20%, it kind of overrides it. We are currently in discussion together with Saver if we should split both runs, because it's just
this is
like,
the 4th PB
now that we both have completed the Armorless route, there will be no recordings on the leaderboards of the Hyrule Field route anymore. It's all gone. It's overwritten.
Really?
We have faster PBs.
Oh, that's nice.
And if a new player, for example, wants to try Breath of the Wild blindfolded, this is not what we recommend to do. This route is absolutely not what the new player should go for. So we kind of want to have a separate board for Hyrule Field route, so that new players, for example, can reference that and join this category rather than the Armorless one.
Oh my god, it feels
But yeah, this was Blindfolded Breath of the Wild, any percent
it feels so
Armorless / naked route. And I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, this is probably one of the last Breath of the Wild runs / videos I'll be posting. We'll see how it goes. But I'm kind of done with this game. It was a fun journey, but everything has to end. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe as always. And see you next time. Bye bye. Hey! Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this amazing Breath of the Wild run that I finally got. It was a really, really painful run to grind. I did this for like multiple weeks now, and every single day I grinded this run, and every single day I died at Ganon. It's just so frustrating to run, but I'm so glad it's finally done now. So glad I could finish this project before my SGDQ run. And yeah, as always, big shoutouts to all of my Patreons, especially Benlitz, Bob Farrell, Boris, ZXMany, and King Roibs. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will be soon back from SGDQ and hope to produce some more blindfolded speedrunning content. Thank you so much for watching, see you around, bye bye.